a very special guest. J.Ehrenberg is with me, and I'm putting together j.ehren. So, how are you?
I'm well here in Charlotte right now, but visiting family for the holidays. I'm based in San Francisco and I am currently working on an ongoing project with a few friends of mine where we collect clothing off of the street of San Francisco. Well, really any sort of material that can be turned into clothing, and then we turn them into clothes. And we just wrapped up our first debut show. We sold out, made quite a bit of money, and yeah, we're just planning our next event now. Still kind of figuring out some stuff, but all we know is we want to be ethical, using clothes from the street. People really fuck with the concept,
And you guys had a really awesome show. I saw them, and you guys had a blast. So
it was really
that
fun.
was very cool.
We wanted to do something that was like not just the show. We wanted to feature other artists. So we had a lot of photography. We had a trash sculpture that was made by a local artist. And Liz and Paul, the people who photographed the trash and collect it for our team, they teamed up with quite a other few trash accounts, is what we call them. Just other people who do the same thing, like photographing the trash on the streets. And so we featured a lot of their art. And then we also transitioned into like a really fun party. There was, drinks and a bartender. Definitely focused on the fashion, but we wanted to make an event that drew people in for like a lot of reasons. Of course, the main reason being fashion. So it was really fun. It was like a party. I didn't really get to enjoy it as much because I was getting models into clothing, but it was really fun, and I'm excited to do it again.
Awesome. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's dive with your story. So, how old are you? Where were you born? Where did you grow up? And what were some of the challenges and difficulties in getting you towards where you decided to like shift in one way or another and stand into yourself?
So I'm 21. My birthday's in February, so I'm 22.
February
23rd. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm February 17th.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Are you a Pisces?
I'm
No.
Aquarius Pisces. I'm Aquarius. I say I'm Aquarius.
Aquarius.
Yeah.
That's fun. Yeah, I know. February. I love it. 21. I was born in Rockville, South Carolina, which is a cotton town. It's like 30 minutes away from Charlotte, so I had access to a city. It is literally the definition of like a small town. Fields, cows, not a lot going on. And so from a young age, I felt very like cramped in a bubble, and I always like had like the feeling inside of me that I needed to get out and like go and like accomplish something larger than where I was from. And yeah, it was pretty interesting growing up in such a conservative area. It's like the Bible Belt, of course. And I figured out pretty young that I was different. I'm gay, so I definitely went through a lot of like formative experiences. But really, it was just a lot of bullying. And so, I don't know, from a young age, I felt like outside of a lot of people. I noticed myself gravitating towards a lot of women because there was a lot of women around me. Two sisters above me, and my mom was a single mom for a while. So I had a lot of, I think I was just drawn towards women a lot. I felt very comfortable around them. And
Now did you I guess in hindsight, maybe you knew that you were different and effeminate in certain respects, but did you know that you were attracted to boys at the time, or you hadn't figured any of that out yet? Or
looking back, I can say, excuse me, looking back, I can definitely say that I've always been attracted to men, but I didn't really like figure it out until I had accepted it. Because for so long, it's like really weird how, if you tell yourself over and over again something, you actually believe it. Like, I was doing a lot of things that obviously gay youth will do that, like, are like pretty like gay. Like, I was watching gay porn and like all this stuff. I had crushes on boys and like was very attracted to the male physique. but I literally had like one girlfriend in like middle school, and I like was so believed it. I was like, we're gonna get married and have kids, and a part of me always was really upset about that because I just like accepted that I have to be straight, and so I was kind of always like down and like really scared about like what my future was going to look like. But fortunately, the girl that I was dating, like I really was just really good friends with her. We were basically just best friends, and so yeah, that was a formative experience in and of itself, like figuring out my sexuality. Because pretty soon after that, I entered into high school, and that is when I came out as gay. I was in the shower one day over Christmas break, actually, and I was basically just thinking about myself and like all of my tendencies of like a gay teenager, and I was like, I'm literally gay. Like, why am I lying to myself? And then in the shower, my next thought was, why am I so ashamed of it? Like, why am I hiding it when I really don't care? Like, I was, like I stated, I went through a lot of bullying, and I feel like a lot of people don't know this, but thinking back, I'm sure everybody can think of one kid that was constantly called gay from like the beginning to the end. Like, it was just they were the gay person, no matter if they actually were or not. And I was that kid. There's usually like one or two of them. So I was like what I call the chosen gay, like from the time I entered grade school up until like I finally came. And that's what ultimately led me to coming out, because everybody already thought it. I was already getting bullied as if I was, and I had just had enough. And it was like, I have supportive people around me that I know that are gonna love me no matter what. I was always in theater and all like artistic type stuff, so there's lots of closeted people around me anyway. Like, I knew that there was no point in hiding it anymore, so I stepped into myself, and I think that was the first moment, like coming back from winter break and going back to school. I like really felt like I had stepped into myself the most that I ever had, and ever since then it's been a journey of finding things that I like to do and like taking care of myself and my mental health, because like you have yourself forever, and you really got to take care of your body and your mind. And so yeah, it was definitely through a lot of like trials and like tribulations and pain that got me to this point. And yeah.
At that point, how old were you? And when you're talking about school, you're still talking about high school at that point, right?
Yeah, I came out my freshman year, and so I was 15. I was about to turn 16. No, I was 14, about to turn 15. And yeah, so I was 14 when I like came out, I guess.
Okay.
I mean, like, yeah, I was 14.
Okay. All right. So you were 14, and the people that you're talking about that you knew you could come out to were supportive of you. I'm assuming that the majority of them were classmates. Were you still were you still not sure and sort of held back from saying anything to family or anything like that?
Yeah, so I came out to my mom like 6 months after that, and I honestly didn't even want to. It was more of like we had gotten into a really bad fight, and I knew it would like piss her off, so I like told her to her face and I like slammed the door on her. And then she went and told my dad, and that was like a whole situation in and of itself. But as far as like the people I initially told, it was my older sisters, and I was in theater and like a lot of arty stuff, like I said, and so like all of them were super accepting. Like I literally came out to like most of them, and they're like, "Joey, I knew." Like, thanks for like feeling comfortable enough, but like we knew the whole time. I was like, yeah, everybody did, I guess. That's why I've been called gay since I was freaking in kindergarten.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's awesome to know that you had people that were with you in a safe place to be able to do that, especially since you're saying that you had bullying. I think it's horrible. And so and I had that happen to me too, because I was raised by someone, my mother was closet bi. And so I was very much raised open minded. I had lesbian aunts and I met gay men. And so I was very comfortable. I was raised in a safe environment where if I were gay, it would have, my mom was careful about how she presented. She didn't want to steer me in any direction to say yay or nay or any of that. And she was ready to support in any way. So when it came to me, like it was kind of, I got similar bullying scenarios because I was like encouraged to embrace any femininity that I may have had. And that's why my pronouns are him, they, as cis straight male. And however, when it comes to getting to know me and who I am, I'm very fluid in my thinking and how I have conversations and move. It was until getting older, finding out that sometimes it made people unsure, uncomfortable, or see me as weak, right? I already had people that when it came to the bullying scenario, and then I even had family that would, because I went to certain clubs, drag shows and things like that, that essentially shamed me and told me, that I was lying to everyone and that I was gay and I had diseases. And those were things that like happened to me with close family members. So, yeah. And so I commend you for being able to do that. And I'm so happy that you had people to support. And so at that point, you're still in high school, so you're still going to finish school. And I'm sure that you had your safe spaces, but you also had people that were either found out that you came out or that were going to just continue to be like harmful towards you in ways. So, we're in that place from moving into coming into yourself with those safe places, but you haven't traveled and you haven't gone and really like started to, now you're in you're blossoming currently. And so between those periods, what kind of interactions and then thought processes do you feel like that you went through that made a bigger difference from that 14 years until you're like into your 18, 19, 20?
I feel like obviously how I got to where I am now, like starting then, it was really just growing through experiences. I was very grateful to have all of those friends that were supportive of me because a lot of them eventually did come out as well. So I also did have quite a few gay teachers. Being in theater, my theater teacher was gay. My English teacher, who was also very involved in the theater department, was also gay. And then one of the head coaches that was also very involved in the sports teams, but very involved in the theater and the chorus as well. They were also gay. So I had 3 strong gay men at my high school to help guide me. And so I feel like I looked a lot towards older people to kind of learn through their experiences. I was always very interested in my own health and like gay culture. So I did a lot of research. I feel like that taught me a lot about like how to be safe, how to like go about exploring myself. And then in the beginning, I was still very scared to express myself through like my clothing. I was still very in the masculine mindset, but around this time I started stepping out of it more. And I feel like that is where a lot of growth has happened, is like pushing myself to just present how I want to feel and like not being afraid of how people are going to look at me or the way my family like would see me. Because I feel like honestly, like a big stopper for a while was like just like my family. Like I lived in their house, so like the way I dressed, the way I talked, like all that stuff, they were experiencing that. And for a while I I allowed myself to be afraid of how they would feel. Until I was like maybe like 17, I painted my nails for the first time, and I don't think my dad said anything about it, but I was really scared about what he would say. And then I just did it. I forced myself to deal with the uncomfort or the discomfort, and that truly is where most growth happens. Is like putting yourself in situations where you're uncomfortable, because you're only going to become comfortable doing things that make you uncomfortable by doing them and being uncomfortable. So yeah, I've just like really tried to be uncomfortable. I lived so much of my life being uncomfortable already, so it's not that hard for me anymore. Where I just feel comfortable in myself now. So there's still a long way to go to big life. But yeah, I guess I would say my thought process during this point was forcing myself to be uncomfortable, learning through my elders' experiences, and then also just being myself, trying to like be easy on myself. I've been through a lot, and something I feel like everybody could, learn is how to be easy on themselves, because it's why be a bully to yourself? We all get bullied already. Just love yourself.
That's pretty amazing to hear too. It's in other words, in all the stories that I interviewed, there always is a scenario where you're feeling alone, and then you go into a place of, where can I feel safe? Then you go into a place of, well, they seem to be doing it that way. So you find a group of people, and you tend to find a mentor of some sort that guides you, because it really is about becoming your true self in a way that is not walking around in constant fear, and a way that's not in constant defense, because that's literally like a miserable life, is to be in constant defense and constant fear. And so there's this part, that's the bottom that I'm talking about, or that's the bottom that all of us in all the episodes are talking about, is where we don't feel like we can feel safe much anywhere. And so we have a conversation in some way, shape, or form that says, no, I can go to such and such, or this group. And then there's, again, saying it again, there's a mentor that comes in to sort of, or not sort of, but guide solid. And that's when you get into those thinking processes, and how you perceive and how you act or react and respond with confidence and with creativity. That's when you can start to become creative. That's when you start to be able to express yourself in a way that says, not only am I whatever this is that I'm being bullied for, but I'm also this, and I'm unique, and I can be creative, and I can make things beautiful. And so from that practice of doing that creates that, what you're talking about, that uncomfortability creates that motion. And then it creates confidence.
I think a big part about it, of it too, is I don't want to say be delusional, but it does take a little bit of delusion and like manifestation, or affirmations, whatever you want to call it.
When you say delusion, though, when you say delusion, are you meaning like expression of imagination, or are you saying that there's a place where you have to? Because in my mind, delusion means that there's like when you have a concentrate, like Tang or anything, and you put water to it, it dilutes it, but it also makes it a drink. So like,
I guess my way, like delusion in the sense, like I'll tell myself that I'm famous, and like shit like that. Like, another thing.
Oh,
Like,
I see.
yeah, like I have like bottles at home of like wine bottles that I just get from my job that are empty, and any cash tips I get, I literally put them in, and I'll say shit like, I'm rich, like I'm gonna create generational wealth, my family's never gonna have to worry ever again. Like, I do stuff like that, and because like I feel that, like I know where I want to go, and I believe in the law of attraction, and so putting yourself in that mindset and like that vibration or whatever, it's gonna attract those things. And I've noticed I find money all the time. I run into money a lot. Technically, in the next 4 months of my rent, I don't have to worry.
No, yeah.
So like, yeah, it's
That's
just like
beautiful. Yeah.
telling yourself these things, like back to like, if you say something enough to the point, like you'll believe it eventually, and that can either be a good thing or a bad thing. So for a while I was telling myself I was straight. That was horrible for my mental health because I was constantly in turmoil with myself. But now that I'm older and I've accepted those parts of myself, I tell myself that I'm beautiful, that I'm amazing, I'm talented, I'm smart, like I'm rich, like I'm never gonna have to worry again, like my friends are gonna be taken care of, and my family, everything. It's just like words have power, and if you use them correctly and for your benefit, like you can do amazing things. And so,
well, I really like the example, both of those examples, because there's two completely different things going on, and it's important to have that be a part of your reality. So when you say delusion in that sense, what I would say is that you're expressing your imagination and becoming confident and finding the affirmative situations in which you move from a place of I want to have money, right, to I have money. And so those things do show up, and you're like, okay, that's affirming, right? And that is a thing that I think is important. But I also like the example of what you were saying about reality, right? So there's a sense of responsibility.
like, you have to do something. You
Yeah.
can't just say these things. So what I'm doing is I'm actually saving by putting the money in the bottle, and I can't touch it anymore.
Yeah.
When I say I'm famous, I'm a famous designer and a singer, so I write music all the time. I'm constantly sewing. I'm constantly thinking about the next thing that I'm going to make. And so it's paired together. It's just a little bit of real effort and then a lot of mental effort as well. So it's just like finding balance, and like also like you have to believe it, but you can't think about it so much to the point like you're scared of not having it.
Right.
Almost like a vision board. Like,
yeah,
you put it on your vision board, you forget about it, go along your way, do your work, take care of yourself, and the next thing you know, like, you have a Mercedes or something, you're like, there's a Mercedes on my fucking vision board. It's like, how did that happen? It's because you made it happen.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's there's also the reality of what you're sitting in, right? So you can't affirm that you're straight until you're straight. That, I feel like that's really important to put into perspective of what you're saying, right? Because somebody could be in a situation where they feel like they need to be straight in order to be accepted by someone, and so they'll take those ideas that you're talking about and feel like they have to do it this way, or they won't be loved the way that they need to be, and vice versa. There may be, and you know, I'm sure it's rare, right? But there's probably cases where people are raised as, you know, they have same-sex parents and they feel like they need to be gay in order to be loved, you know, and it's something that they are only having a conversation with their self about. And like I said, I think those are extremely rare cases. I would say that most of the time, if those parents found out about something like that, they would explain to the child, no, we love you very much, just however you are, whatever it is. You're real. You know, you have to put the work in, right? When it comes to something that is your creativity and your imagination, you know that there's work that needs to be done. But as long as you're affirming and saying and seeing the evidence of those things come into fruition, then you're in a much healthier path and way of being, to where you can relax and feel safe.
Yeah.
That's the point. And then from there, you you have your expressions. Okay, so with that being said, that's excellent segue into now that you're in that place and you've already had the practices of doing those things, and you're still in Rock Hill, and you decide to take the move. What made you make the move to San Francisco, and why San Francisco? Hold on. From that point, it's still in Rock Hill, and your parents sort of had a conversation with you and accepted you for who you were, or they were still having their own difficulties?
So when I came out initially at 15 to my mom, she obviously told my dad. It didn't go over too well. They basically told me that I'm just going through a phase, like the yada yada yada, like that you're not actually gay. They were very Christian. We went to church every Sunday. And my dad was a youth pastor and just like very Christian. So they did not accept me until like 2 years later. So our relationship was pretty strange. But
had you already moved?
No. So
okay.
It was maybe like a year and a half later, like that my mom finally was like, Joey, I love you no matter what. Like, I accept you. My dad was still like, I don't accept the lifestyle, which is fucking bullshit. Like, it's not lifestyle, it's my life. Like,
right.
But he accepts me now. But it's been a long road. Basically, after I came out and I had that conversation with my parents, and they were like, it was honestly so traumatic. I'm like, I don't want to throw my dad under the bus, but they literally like explained to me what gay sex was, as if I didn't know. And told me how disgusting it was, how you're more likely to die if you're gay. That's because of the mental illness that comes along with it. If you're not accepted, you want to kill yourself. And then also they were like, there's so many diseases, you're going to get HIV, like just like spewing all this stuff at me that I have already researched endlessly, like on my own. Like, I've had a freaking technology since I was like 10. Like, I was on the internet, like finding this stuff out about myself. So like that didn't really faze me. What really fazed me was like them like blatantly like telling me that like I can't be this. And so I like shut down to them. Like, I just stopped bringing them in on my sexuality, how I felt, crushes, like everything. Like, I was very closed off to them for a while. And I actually went to therapy with my mom, and they asked me like pretty soon after this experience, actually, because she was like, you need therapy. And I'm like, no shit. And we were doing a consultation. So she was in there with them, and they asked me my sexuality. And I told them like, I don't feel comfortable answering that in front of her. And they were like, you have to. And so I was like, I'm gay. And she literally started crying. And looking back now and like talking to my mom about it, she honestly doesn't remember a lot of this. In her head, she accepted me fully the entire time, in which case I have to like be like, Mom, like, no, like this is how it really happened. Like, it's been a long journey, and I'm glad where we're at now, but we have to recognize that like, you were dealing with your own stuff. Like, the gay son on top, that was really hard for you. So she really did not want to accept it, because she knew how much pain I was going through. It wasn't because she didn't want me to be gay or because she thought it was gross. It was because I had gone so long being the gay kid at school and like crying to my mom, being like, Mom, I'm not gay. Like, why is this happening? Like, so it was really confusing for her, because now all of a sudden I'm like, I am gay and I'm trying to like embrace it. And she's like, no, you're going to get hurt. Like, this isn't you. Like, you spent so long like telling me this one thing, and this was really hard for her. And I'm sure my dad dealt with his own like version of it, like just like being afraid for me, and also probably afraid of what other people were going to think of him. So yeah, it was tough, but eventually they came around. My mom, more so than my dad, I honestly am a little scared to like talk to him about it and like get like a yes or no, like, do you accept it or not? Because the last time I talked to him about it like 2 years ago, he was like, I don't accept the lifestyle still. And again, I'm like, it's not a lifestyle. Like, this is like just natural. Like, it happens in nature. Like, it's not the first time like someone's been gay. But yeah, so I just haven't asked him about it, because like that whole argument really offends me and like bothers me. But he's my dad, so I just ignore it. But my mom, she is fully like on board. She's like, I love who you are. Like, I love who you're becoming. Like, I'm your mother. Like, this is who you are. And like, she saw me like from the time I was born. Like, she knows that I've always been interested in fashion, and like my sister is like playing with dolls, dressing up. Like, I feel like she knew the whole time. She just like was really scared for me. And we live in South Carolina. Like, she knows someone personally that like got jumped for being gay. So she's really scared that that's going to happen to me. But I'm a good fighter, so it's not going to.
There you go. Well, I like what you're saying about the idea of pausing and understanding therapy and moving in that direction to get a hold on it. And I'm super proud of your mom for choosing to go in that direction with you, even though it was difficult.
Well, she saw how much it was hurting me. That's like initially what got her.
Right.
It was when I talked with my mom and dad, and like my mom was like, I fully accept you. Like, and it was because like I was crying. Like, I was telling her how much like pain I was going through. Like, like being free and accepted like outside of the house, and then to come home and like feel like I have to hide like myself. Like, it caused me to stay away from them like a lot of times. Like this, like I got my license, I was never at home. Like, and it was because of them. Like, I did not feel like I could be myself, and so I was gone constantly. And she noticed that, and I was honest with her that it's not a phase. Like, it's been almost 2 years, and I'm like still arguing with you about this. Like, it's not gonna change, and it's gonna lead to me like not being around and like moving out. My sister like moved out when she was like, I want to say 17 or 18, and I was like pretty close behind her. I was like, it's gonna be me soon too. Like, so we better figure it out. And we did, and I eventually stayed living with my parents until I was 19, which is when I moved to San Francisco. I can talk about that. That happened. To like go back to the manifestation aspect, so you can understand how it happened for me. Ever since I was young, I was always like thinking about like before I even knew what manifestation was. Like, I maybe learned about that like 4 years ago. But like I look back and like I've been doing it my entire life. Like, I would so like strongly visualize my life and how I wanted it to be when I was an adult, because I wanted to get out so bad. So I would think about having an apartment, my dream car. Like, I loved music for a long time, more than fashion. That's like changed now. So like I would always envision myself like singing in front of like thousands and thousands of people, and just like living like literally my dream life, because it was almost like a safe space to like kind of get away from the trauma I was experiencing. And then I applied to go to school in LA, and that fell through. So I was really distraught about that. Ended up going to school just like locally. And then at the time I was moving from Greenville to Rock Hill with my dad, because my parents got divorced like within all the shuffle. And so to be closer to family, me, my dad, and my sister moved back to Rock Hill. And 2 weeks after moving back to Rock Hill, I met my ex-boyfriend, and he was living in San Francisco at the time, but splitting time between San Francisco and Charlotte. And so literally after 2 weeks of knowing him, like he asked me to move to San Francisco with him, and I did. So I was like, yeah, sure. And I was like, do it for the plot, let's switch it up. I knew I wanted to like get out. I hadn't envisioned myself in San Francisco, but thinking about it now and like living there, it was definitely like where I was meant to be. Yeah, so it literally fell in my lap. That is how I moved to San Francisco. I moved there, I didn't have to have a job. I was kind of just playing the stay-at-home boyfriend for a while, and then I shipped my sewing machine out there not too long after that. And was like, making stuff, and like I was doing open mics and exploring the city, meeting people, and then we eventually broke up because it was just not a healthy relationship. And that is really when I started to grow. was when I moved out of our place and I got my own apartment and just literally started doing my own thing. Made a lot of friends and went through a lot of experiences. But,
That's amazing, and I love it for you. I didn't even imagine that your story would be so dynamic. I really appreciate your courage and your vulnerability, and I support your life. I think it's amazing that you're as profoundly serious about your creativity. I had no idea that you were sewing and putting things together at the level that you had. And I think it's important that you know that there are people who know you that are family or that are older than you that have been in the distant, like myself, and that they support who you are and that you're going to do really well. I'm super proud of you, and I think that you have become an amazing human being, and I'm very proud of you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you too, by the way.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, honestly, I'm literally the same way with you. I saw like your paintings and I was like blown away. Like, I did not know that you were like that talented. But then like even just being like here in your setup, I'm like, wow, this is like legit. Like it's like really awesome because like I feel like everybody wants to start a podcast, but like not a lot of people actually are doing it, and like you're doing it. So
yeah,
it runs in the family.
Yeah, definitely. No, I am being a monster about it. Like I'm actually being indignant in the way that like, no, this is what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And like the art and the painting, I've got a whole room. I'll show you.
Yeah.
It's just slam full of art supplies and canvases, and it's still there sitting there, and I created this, and like I will do those. I will go and move into that. But right now, I feel like current scenario, politically, current events, and the way that our environment is right now, it's extremely important to do things like you're doing, which is upcycling and finding your team and your group of people and really getting serious about how we want these things to go in a way that has worked in the past as functional. Some of it is innovation and newness, and you guys are on that tip where you're doing something that in some ways has worked in the past and adding into creating something new out of it as well too. So yeah, go into what your crew is doing and I would assume you've interacted with others that aren't in your crew, but there's some projects and things that are coming forward.
Okay, yeah, so I've lived in San Francisco for almost 3 years, and a lot of the people on my team are my friends. Like I met them through like the art community out there, which is why I really encourage like everybody to move out of their hometown if you haven't, or even if you're in San Francisco. I know people that feel like their pool is way too small now there because they've lived there their whole life. You have to like kind of get out there because that's how you're going to meet people like this way. I started going to an open mic because before fashion, I was like really into music before I pivoted to fashion. And I met Liz Cahill, and she is the trash photographer along with Paul, her partner, who do all the trash photography.
Give us a little excerpt on what that is.
So trash photography is basically like going out into the natural world and photographing trash. A lot of times it's in cities because that's where most people are, and like a lot of waste happens. And so in a way it's like a natural occurrence at this point because it's naturally like finding its way there, like because maybe someone throws it out there, it falls off a truck. Like it is our form of like a natural environment. And so we call it harvesting when we go and like find the clothes. But Liz and Paul were just doing the photography for a while, out. And then they were noticing that there was a lot of like fibers and like, clothing that could be like, turned into something. And at the time I was upcycling clothing that I was buying at the thrift store. If any of you thrift, you know that it's really expensive now, which I could go on for hours about. It's horrible, but to give you a gauge for San Francisco prices, the thrift store that I usually go to, you can't find pants that are below like $17. Like, and some of them are completely destroyed. Like, and so it's like very toxic. And I was complaining about this a lot to Liz because I was like, I want to keep doing this, but it's like I can't find materials cheap enough. And she was like, Joey, I'm literally taking pictures of these freaking trash piles, and there's pants in them and like shirts and all this stuff like that you could totally use. And so she and Paul were like, we should make a fashion line and have Joey design it. And so we basically decided that we would do this January of like this year, like at the very beginning of January. And so I started designing. I would like
2023.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was a year-long project. And they brought me on. I was really nervous at first. I was really scared, but I remember like after our first like official meeting, I was on the way home and I was like, I'm gonna do this. Like, I've never like made clothes in this quantity or like this before, but I'm gonna do it. Like, I believe in myself, and it happened. Like, it was really awesome. And along the way, like, we brought on 2 other team members, Jules and Kelsey. And Jules styles and helps to sign a little bit, and Kelsey was runway production and like basically like the iron fist that ruled the set. Like, I feel like I'm very soft spoken, and even when I'm not, like, I know how to raise my voice, but I don't like being too like bitchy and like directorial. So she does all that for me.
You said Chelsea?
Yeah, Kelsey.
Kelsey.
Okay.
Yeah.
She's a baddie.
Let Kelsey do the delegating.
Yeah, literally. So like yeah.
Nice. Go Kelsey.
Yeah, she did like a lot of like rounding up for the models, and yeah, but along the way, I think Jules was really who I worked the closest with. She was styling everything, and she's a professional stylist. We're trying to get her into the design world more. She doesn't know how to use a sewing machine, so I'm gonna try and teach her. But yeah, like.
Nice.
So it's 5 of us. We literally just kind of naturally came together, and like we've all known each other for a while. Like, I was friends with all of them before the project even started. Like, I met Jules at like an art gallery that I performed at. I met Kelsey at like a Friendsgiving, like, or maybe it wasn't a Friendsgiving, but it was a clothing swap or like some sort of group dinner that was at Liz's house. And then Liz met Paul at an open mic, I believe, or a poetry slam, and they started dating. I met Paul the same way through the open mic that Liz actually hosts, because she hosts her own, and that's how I met her. So it was literally just like a network of artists that like met each other like through just through creating and like getting out there, and we came together and made like a really cool line. And I wasn't sure if we were going to keep the concept going after this. I intended to break off and just go my own way and like have this kind of as like a starter. But the more that I've done it, the more I believe in it and the more I love doing it. So we're going to keep this going. Like, trash.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's a beautiful idea.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
People love the concepts, and I think a strong concept is really what like will draw people in and like make something successful. And so I'm like, why would I throw that away? Like, just because like I want to be like the one person doing it. And so I don't know. It's easy to like be that way, to be like, oh, I'm the designer, like it's my vision, it's like my world. But through this process, a really important thing that I've learned, and something that I'll literally take away forever, is that like there is no way you can do something at the scale that we want to alone. Like, it's literally impossible. And so it's best for everybody to like set your ego aside and work in a collaborative environment with other people, because you're not going to succeed otherwise. Like, there's so many things that you don't think about that go into like a fashion show or any sort of large project that you need other people to think about. And if you don't have them, you're not going to succeed. So that's why like I've shifted to, you know, like I want to keep this going because I love the concept. I love the product, and I know that it can be even better the next time. So I'm like, fuck it, let's keep doing it.
So with that, how you guys just did a show? You just did a show last month.
Yeah,
the end of last month.
It was
it was the beginning of this month. And so can you tell me a little bit about how that came about and who you had walk in and all of that stuff? Because some of the people that were walking were just fabulous. Like that was such a awesome thing to see. They were rocking hard. That was great.
Another example of why you should get out of your hometown and move to a city is to be around so many cool people. Like, that's why I kept hearing. It's just like everybody involved that like was watching it was like everybody doing it is like so cool and down to earth, and like I feel comfy here. So the show, we always knew that we wanted to do the show. That was the goal from the very beginning, is like doing the runway. And so we really, most of the work was finding the models and like collaborating with them, because obviously I made a lot of stuff specifically for the person that was going to walk down the runway. And so all those people were found like either because they were friends of mine or they were friends of mine, and they had people to vouch for them. And yeah, like I prefer it that way because there was like a handful of like professional models, like people that like had been doing it for a while, and then there was also like a majority of people who have never modeled before, and I just like was friends with them, and I'm like, you're really beautiful and like unique, and I feel like you embody the brand very well, because the brand is about inclusivity, so really everybody embodies the brand. But I just wanted like people who were definitely like a part of the queer community or allies in some way, just because I knew that was how we were going to get the most like diverse environment or group of people. And it was really fun to like actually see everybody come together, because beforehand we were just doing like individual fittings, or maybe we'd have like 3 or 4 people come to my apartment and we'd like do a photo shoot in some of the clothes. And then like on the actual day of this show, like everybody there was just like totally vibing. Like everybody had only good things to say about everybody, and it was really nice that way to have like a mixture of like pros and people who like were amateurs, because the pros were giving advice to the amateurs, and the amateurs were like feeling really comfortable, like you know, I'm gonna fucking do this catwalk and it's gonna be amazing. And it was really fun. And I think like a big part of it too was also the clothes. Like it's been very like exciting to me personally. Like,
yeah, the outfits were freaking insane. Yeah, I love them.
Yeah. No, and then like my goal with the outfits was totally achieved. Like my because like I wear a lot of my own designs, and I know how I feel and how I want to feel when I wear my designs, so I design with that mindset. Like I design something that I feel empowered in, and that makes me feel sexy and like beautiful and just like different, because I love standing out. And yeah, so all the stuff I made like with that in mind, and it carried on to the people who wore it, which was really interesting to watch, because they were telling me these things. They were like, wow, I feel so much sexier. I feel so empowered, and like, I feel so unique, like, because it's literally came from the street, and like, nobody's going to go do that. First of all,
right.
Nobody's going to find this exact like shade of denim that I'm wearing. Like, it's like completely 100% authentic and unique to me. And everybody felt that when they were walking, and it just kind of proved like the power of clothing and what can happen when you like put like your heart into something, because all of them, they didn't make the clothes, they were just feeling the energy that I put into it, and they were also like feeling their energy that was being brought up through the clothing. And it was like, it's just freaking awesome to see, because like they all went out there and strutted their stuff.
And you brought a magazine, and you wanted to showcase
But
can you hold it up to your right? To your right. Look, there we go.
yeah. Okay, so
Okay.
this is the magazine. The title is Piles because the collaboration piece was with j.ehren and then Piles of San Francisco, and we just kind of started calling it Piles. Look at this camera.
There. Yeah, yep, you're good.
Yeah, so we kind of just...
I'm not cutting that out either.
Yeah, so we kind of just started calling it Piles, and like now that's kind of like, I guess the unofficial name of the line is Piles, and the next one will probably be Piles Part 2 or Volume 2 or something like that. Yeah, so Piles, there's some trash right there, and then you open it up and you have this beautiful like graphic right here. Jacob, I'm really bad with last names, but we had a graphic designer named Jacob who actually worked with a different fashion designer in San Francisco on their stuff. And so it's like a very connected community. Like a lot of the people that I worked with, like are again friends of friends, have like been in this industry, and like it's like our goal is to uplift everybody in the community.
So is this a like a coffee table publication, or is this going to be a regular publication, or you don't know yet?
So my idea right now is to do a magazine for every show. It's like my favorite, which is...
There you go.
Yeah. So I think we'll do a magazine for every show that we do.
Yes.
Yeah. No, that's Jay. Yeah, they slayed. So
yeah.
Yeah, this is my favorite page. It's like just really cool. And there is an interview here.
Yeah, I love it.
So there's some text.
Well, you have to pull it back.
Okay.
Can people get that publication?
Not anymore. I made 50 copies.
Okay.
And this is like the last one.
Is there an online presence that has these images and type, or?
So I actually do have like a PDF version of this.
Okay. So there's potential for some of these images and writings to be online.
Yeah, for sure.
Eventually.
Maybe I should figure that out, actually.
Well, yeah, it's the holidays, and you just did this, so that's amazing.
But no, the magazine was definitely like not an afterthought. I've been thinking that I wanted a magazine for this, but I didn't like the way that this came out. Honestly, like when it did, like the timing was perfect. We started planning it like maybe 3 weeks before the actual show, and got the shipment like the day before. So it was cutting it close, but it came out really well, and it's nice to have something to like remember the event with.
Sure.
People really liked it.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah. The next time I probably just would want to spend more time on it, make it a little thicker. And I'm like on my photography journey too. I took almost all the photos in it. All the fashion photography, not the trash photos, but so it's been a very, very good side project to work on because I actually really enjoyed it, and seeing it come out was really amazing.
So okay, well, is there a last thing before we say our gratitudes and so longs that you would like to give to the audience in any way?
So some good advice for everybody, because I get asked like how I do what I do. A big part of talent or like ability comes from constantly doing it over and over again. I've been sewing since I was 11, so that's how I've gotten to this point. So if you want to do something, all it takes is an interest in that thing and then the will to do it. So do it. And also don't do it alone. Like find people that are interested in it as well. A big motivator for me is working with one of my friends, Jules. She motivates me a lot, especially when we're together, and it's really easy to like get in a good workflow when you're with other people. So just believe in yourself, be interested in something, go and do it, and don't do it alone. So yeah,
awesome.
that's my advice. Oh, and cunt. We love cunt is like, if you don't know, it's new terminology. It's not a bad word anymore. It means to be sexy, beautiful, like everything, empowering. So be cunt. That is all j.ehren is about. It's just feeling
Be
confident.
cunt.
Be
That's
cunt.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very cunt.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
I love it. I'm going to practice that in the mirror. Yeah.
No, I'm like, people tell me they're offended by the word, and I'm like, okay, I'll try not to say it around you. But like, I feel like I'm not saying it in an offensive way. So like,
No, if it has the definition that you're given, I think it's a beautiful thing.
Like,
right.
so,
Let's use it properly.
yes.
Okay, well, listen, thank you so much for sitting down with me.
Of course,
and
thank you for having me.
yeah, of course. And
J.ehren.
j.ehren, check it out. Check out his socials, and be ready to be cunt as soon as you possibly can, because it's coming up 2024, bitches.
That's right.
All right, you want to say bye? Bye, guys.
Battered potato, simple solar cell you can charge it, but I need a larger amount of chip because every pop up make my USB coffee water. Dramatic skin my brain to find 30,000 viruses. Hit that acid rain, rent my NTFS useless, and Android has been reformatted. Ends of my document, personal tax information folder. Explorers cause errors and need to be I'm left broken hearted. I entered safe mode about 3 years ago. Never does he processes populate my test management. Faking the funk and taking a dump on my network. Call me the administrative account holder. A cohort users. Bandwidth abuses unite. Bring your 2-1 to a crawl. Claim you know of no reason at all. The internet to be slow and unresponsive. My human works, but I can't get on the web. Better call Gates before you back up. He says he plays platters. Red 5. Idealist. Feels not meaning to ramble, but is there any way I can get Discovery Channel on my Windows Media Player? DR hey, make me wanna hack all I see. Repost FTP for free with an ATR ID emo technology or dual cool. I can play all AFs in the days of many. I don't find time. I allocate. Taking bites from the stack.